My wife didn't just walk out on me when my father was dying, she declared war. But when the dust settled, and his will made me a millionaire, she came crawling back, utterly desperate. I'm 36, a husband of 8 years, a father to 2 beautiful children, and my ailing father's only son. For years, his battle with kidney disease had been a quiet struggle, but in the last 2 to 3 years, his health plummeted. Dialysis became his lifeline, twice a week. At first, he managed alone, but soon, he started asking me to accompany him. He was fading, growing weaker by the day. I made a vow to myself, I wouldn't let him face this alone. Saturdays, my day off, were easy. Wednesdays meant asking my boss for a special arrangement, leaving early, then clocking in extra hours late at night, after I dropped Dad home. My company, where I'd worked for a decade, knew my dedication. My boss, seeing me as a loyal employee, granted the permission without a second thought. But at home, a different kind of storm was brewing, courtesy of my wife, Aile, who's 34. When Aile heard I'd committed to taking Dad for dialysis twice a week, her displeasure was immediate, undeniable. She'd always grumbled when I took him occasionally, but now that this was a fixed, non-negotiable responsibility, her true colors showed. "What's the point," she'd sneer, "of wasting your time on your father? You know he's never been impressed by you." There's a backstory to that particular venom. My dad, a self-made man, built a successful merchandising business and accumulated substantial wealth. His dream was for me to take over, to carry on his legacy. But my heart belonged to technology. I was consumed by coding, by creating software. So, when he pushed for business courses, I pursued a software degree instead. He was initially okay, hoping I'd still join his company, but after graduation, I landed a job at a renowned tech firm. Dad was devastated. His legacy, his dream, was being set aside for someone else's company. He pleaded, he asked, he reasoned. I kept stalling. After I married Aile, he asked one last time. When I firmly said no, he exploded. He declared he'd give all his wealth to charity, that I wouldn't see a penny. I didn't budge. I was doing well, even then. By 29, I'd bought my own car, my own house. I was confident I could build a good life without his money. I told him as much, that I didn't need his wealth. Our relationship, already strained, fractured completely after that. 5 years ago, Mom passed away from a cardiac arrest. Dad was shattered. I'd left home at 17 for college, then got my own place. Mom had been his sole companion, and losing her was catastrophic. That's when our bond began to mend. I started visiting more often, bringing the kids to play with him. Eventually, he stepped down from his company, handing it over to a trust to manage. Aile, on the other hand, had never been close to my parents. When Mom was alive, Aile would avoid them, claiming Mom was too nosy. But after Dad threatened to disinherit me, Aile's criticism of my parents became openly vicious. She'd call them mean, evil. I pleaded with her to stay out of my relationship with them, but she always dragged our children into it, saying it affected their future. I assured her our future was secure, regardless of Dad's wealth, but she refused to listen. And now, this. Aile threw daily tantrums about my commitment to Dad's dialysis. I tried to make her see, he had no one else. His parents were long gone. His older brother lived across the city, a rare visitor. Mom's death had left him so lonely. I couldn't abandon him now. But Aile simply wouldn't understand. My life became a miserable tightrope walk. Every Saturday, she'd invent some urgent plan, a party, a deep clean, a kids' outing, even a ridiculous grocery pickup. I'd tell her to plan for Sundays, but she'd persist, only to berate me later for being late or missing it entirely. I'd rush to Dad's, get him to the center, drop him home, and then sprint back to face her sarcasm and unending tantrums. Wednesdays were no different. I'd promised my boss I'd make up work in the evening, but Aile would invariably make plans, meeting her family, long-lost friends, some random party, dumping the kids on me. So, after a hectic day at work and dialysis, I'd be juggling work, cooking for the kids, feeding the youngest, and trying to catch up on my own tasks. It was exhausting. Dad noticed. Many times, he suggested I let the nurse take him. He saw me, always intense, always checking my watch. I'd drop him home and practically bolt. Even for pickup, I'd ask him to be ready and waiting outside. He had a full-time nurse and caretaker, but still, I felt guilty for not spending quality time with him. The 30-minute drive to the center used to be our time, where we'd chat about old memories. But with Ail's increasing drama, all I could think about was rushing home. I'd often speed, take shortcuts, overtake cars, anything to cut down the drive time. This short drive was the only real time I got with Dad, and I refused to let Ail take that from me, or to stop it by sending him with a nurse. I had a son's responsibilities, and I couldn't bear her any longer. It just kept getting worse. Ail pulled out all the stops to dissuade me from seeing my father. Her core argument was cold, calculating. It was a lost deal. Dad had disinherited me, given his wealth to charity, so there was no point wasting time or energy on him. I couldn't comprehend such a transactional view of love. Do we only care for our parents if they offer something in return? Do children abandon poor parents? After months of enduring her relentless tantrums, I finally snapped. "You're not inheriting anything from your parents," I shot back, "so why do you visit them every now and then?" Oh, she completely lost it. "My parents did far more than your greedy father," she shrieked. "They supported me. They're not like your father, who disowned you for not joining his business. My father would never have done that to me, so don't you dare compare my parents to yours." This wasn't an isolated incident. These arguments became the norm after dialysis, especially on Wednesdays and Saturdays. Each fight grew uglier, more severe. She used to yell at me in private, but now, she started shouting in front of our children. Worse, I overheard her bad-mouthing Dad to them, trying to manipulate them against us. I intervened, which, of course, led to another explosive fight. Ail's fights became so routine that on the rare days she didn't yell, I felt something was missing. The silence was just the calm before the next, even more aggressive storm. I had almost given up on her. I stopped yelling back, stopped engaging. I just ignored her, as if she ceased to exist. What else could I do? I wouldn't abandon my father to appease her. I didn't care about the will. He had every right to disown me. I had hurt him by refusing his legacy. His company was his baby, and he'd been forced to donate it. Sometimes, I felt karma was biting me. Meanwhile, Dad was growing weaker by the minute. He could barely walk, needing full support to get into the car. I used to rush him, asking him to be outside. Now, I didn't care about being late. I went inside, carefully walked him to the car, and then, after dialysis, ensured he was settled peacefully in his bed before leaving. He was having shortness of breath, so I walked him as slowly as he needed. I drove carefully, no speeding, no sudden movements that might increase his heart rate. I stopped caring about rushing home, it wasn't helping anyway. If I had to deal with that evil woman regardless, I might as well make Dad's last days happy. This casual attitude, this quiet defiance, infuriated Ail even more. Yesterday, she delivered her final ultimatum. I had to choose. My father, or her. I tried to reason with her, to explain Dad wouldn't be with us much longer. His condition, it wasn't looking good. Her reply was curt, chilling. In that case, you need to make your choice carefully. Someone who will be with you forever, or someone who is going to die soon. The insensitivity was staggering. You know what? I said, my voice surprisingly steady. I'd rather choose my father than choose you, you evil, selfish woman. She packed her bags and left. I didn't stop her. She needed time to cool off, and frankly, I needed space from her. In her absence, I managed the house, the children, Dad, and my work. Yet, for the first time in years, I felt relieved, relaxed. Her absence was a soothing balm. 2 days ago, the divorce papers arrived. Somewhere deep down, I'd expected it, but not so soon. I was shocked, yes, but beneath that, a profound sense of happiness and relief washed over me. I didn't call her. I simply signed the papers and sent them back. To my surprise, she hadn't asked for custody of the children. That was the only clause that worried me. She clearly didn't want them. When she received the signed papers, she called me, screaming. How could I just sign without calling her, without pleading? It was almost comical. Then her mom snatched the phone, yelling that I should have acted like a man and fought for my wife, instead of just giving up. I just thought, why would I do that? She wanted a divorce, and I complied. It was a liberation. I got rid of her without a fuss. I even taunted her, you abandoned your own children, you didn't even want them. She shot back, you can have all your assets, including your 2 children. I don't want any of it. Her mother then chimed in, saying Ale was still very young and didn't need the baggage of children. Fine by me, I thought. I was glad to have my kids. It was a massive relief, no doubt. But I worried about my children, especially the younger one, who missed their mom. With me at the office, managing everything alone would be difficult. Yet, I hoped I'd sail through this. By the way, if you're still with me on this wild ride, make sure to hit that subscribe button, more unbelievable stories are coming, and you won't want to miss them. This is a shorter update, but a significant one. I moved into Dad's house with my children. And it was, hands down, the best decision I ever made. Thank you to everyone who suggested it, it truly worked out. Moving in with Dad was a blessing for all of us. Dad got the constant company of my children, and they got their grandpa to play with. Plus, Dad had a full-time caregiver who was more than happy to help with the kids, under Dad's supervision. Best deal ever, right? Seeing Dad play and laugh with my children, and them enjoying themselves with their grandpa, filled my heart with a happiness I hadn't felt in years. Ale never saw this coming. She thought divorcing me, leaving me with all the responsibilities, children, dad, house, work, would make my life miserable. But you see, everything fell perfectly into place. I was definitely having the last laugh. The divorce was, truly, the best thing that ever happened to me. LOL. Then came the sad news. Dad passed away last week in his sleep. He went to bed happy and content after playing with my children, and never woke up again. The doctor said he died peacefully. His nurse, his caregiver, everyone said Dad was visibly happier after I moved in, and it genuinely extended his life by several months. He had been on the verge of giving up before I came back. Losing your only parent is incredibly sad, but I'm eternally grateful that he got to spend his last few months surrounded by love and joy. My children are heartbroken too, but Dad instilled strong values in them. They told me Grandpa taught them to accept reality and move on, that life never stops. Hearing that from them, my strength in this moment of despair, filled me with immense pride. But there was one more shocking piece of news after Dad's demise. His lawyer called, asking me to come to his office to read the will. I told him it wasn't necessary. Dad had already told me he'd given everything to the trust, and I was fine with that. I even asked if I needed to vacate Dad's house, assuming it, too, went to charity. The lawyer chuckled. He just told me to come. When I arrived, the trust members were already there. The lawyer had summoned them too. As he began to read the will, I felt tears welling up. Dad had actually willed me everything, his business, his house, all his wealth. It was all for me. I asked the lawyer, my voice thick with emotion, if this change had been made recently, thinking Dad had altered it after I started caring for him. The lawyer smiled gently and said, "You were always his heir. The will was never changed." I broke down, inconsolable. My dad had never abandoned me. Maybe he'd threatened to disown me only to push me to take forward his business, his legacy. I was still crying when his attorney gently pacified me. "It kills me," I choked out, "that I hurt my dad all his life, but he always cared for me." The lawyer then shared something that healed a wound I hadn't realized was so deep. He said Dad was actually very proud that I hadn't given up on my passion under his pressure, and that I was happy to lose generational wealth to pursue my own path. Dad was incredibly proud of me. The lawyer informed me I was now the decision maker for the business, and if I wished, I could take it back from the trust and run it myself. I'm seriously considering it. I pursued my own dreams, and Dad, in his own way, supported me. Now it was my turn to pay him back. I want to take his company back from the trust and scale it, make it fly to the level he always envisioned. I went home and told my children about their grandpa's will. He'd even left a portion of his wealth for them when they turn 18. Today, we visited his grave with flowers, spending a quiet moment in serenity. It's an intensely emotional time for me. You know, the ants always come running when they smell sugar. A month after Dad's demise, as I began taking over his business and community work, the visitors started arriving. First, I quit my job, took full control of the business, and rented out my old house. My children and I decided to stay at my parents' house. They feel connected to their grandpa here, and this house holds all my childhood memories. I don't want to leave it either. News of my inheritance, my father's million-dollar wealth, spread like wildfire. Long-lost relatives, friends, neighbors started showing up. But the most surprising visitors were my ex-wife, Aile, and her parents. They entered, sobbing, claiming they hadn't known about my father's death, or else they would have attended the funeral. Her parents went on and on about all the good things Dad supposedly did. Aile hugged the children, fake tears streaming, claiming how much she missed them. "If you missed them so much," I asked, my voice flat, "why didn't you visit in the last 7 or 8 months? When you saw our house was locked, weren't you worried about your own children? Didn't you feel it necessary to contact me, to check if they were fine?" She had no answer. Her parents quickly stepped in. "Let's forget the past," they urged. "Now that your father is gone, the children will be left alone when you're at work. They need a mother. It's best you reconcile." I burst out laughing. Right to their faces. The children needed her most when she abandoned them. Now, they'd grown used to her absence. I didn't want her back in my life. She started crying again. Her parents, sensing the tide turning, left us alone. Aile held my hands, pleading for reconciliation, claiming she loved me and missed being with the children. I laughed again, a harsh, humorless sound. "You know what, Aile? You don't love me. You love the wealth my dad left me. You and your greedy parents are here, on my doorstep, just to leech off my money." I didn't regret those words for her parents. That's exactly what they were. She had called my dad greedy and mean during our divorce. There was no way I was letting this woman have a penny of my dad's hard-earned money. She was offended that I'd abused her parents. "Until now," she hissed, "I was pleading because I loved you. But now, I'll take what is rightfully mine." She'd asked for no alimony during the divorce, but now, she demanded half of my wealth, half of my dad's wealth. I told her she could do whatever she wanted, I would destroy her before she got a single penny. She hurled insults at me and stormed out. I discussed this possibility with my lawyer. He reassured me her chances were slim. The divorce had settled a year before I inherited. Besides, the children were with me, so there was no way she could get anything substantial. But he did caution me, be careful about letting her spend time with the children. She could manipulate them, file for custody, and then use them to demand money for maintenance. I couldn't be more thankful for his advice. I'm going to supervise any meetings, and I'm spending a lot of time with the kids these days, helping them cope with their loss, ensuring they don't run to their mommy for emotional support. Taking over my dad's company gives me the flexibility to manage my well-being and personal life. I'm even planning to take the kids on a vacation to the Bahamas. Yeah, why not? They deserve this lavish vacation. It's not about overspending my dad's wealth. I could have afforded it before, but I never had the time, juggling work and taking care of Dad. Now that I can, I want to take them out and give them the world. As for Aile, she hasn't contacted me since that last visit. I think she's busy knocking on every lawyer's office to file a suit against me. What would you have done in my place when she came back? Have you ever had someone try to exploit your grief or your good fortune? Tell me what you think in the comments, I really want to know.